wave A has frequency of 10 to the power of 23 hertz, and wave B has a wavelength of 10 to the power of negative 12. The right comparison between the two energies is what? Now this one, when we say B is less than A, we are talking about what? We are talking about energy. That means energy of wave B is greater than energy of wave A, or energy of wave A is less. The first one is less, B is less than A, and the second one is A less than B, or less or equal, or greater or equal. How can we know which one is right? Okay, that means we are comparing what here in this case? We are comparing energies. And as we know, when we compare energies of two waves, the energy formula, it equals H times F. So when the H now is constant. So that means when we compare the energy of two waves, we are not comparing the energy, we are comparing the frequency. Why? Because the H is constant. When you multiply the frequency by a constant, will not give you additional information. So in this case, if we are comparing two waves energies, just compare the frequency. The higher the frequency wave will be the higher energy. So we need to understand now the frequency. Okay, frequency of A here is given for us, right? So that means this one here now is frequency of what? Of A. What is the frequency of A? It is 10 to the power of 23 watt hertz. Okay, now this frequency is given. Now what about the frequency of the second one? Here now, as you see, what is given for us is the wavelength of wave B. So that means it's not the frequency. And when we said we need to compare the frequencies, so that means each one we should know the frequency of it so we can compare the frequencies. So in this case now, we need to find the frequency of B, of wave B, in order to compare it with the frequency of wave A. How can we find the frequency from the wavelength? If we go back to the question, here now wave A has a frequency of, and wave B has a wavelength of. So these waves in general, even it's not mentioned in the questions, they are talking about electromagnetic waves. And electromagnetic waves have a formula that speed of light, it equals H times what? Times F. Times F. So on this case now, the speed of light, we know that it is 3 times 10 to the power of what? Of 8. It equals now the wavelength. What is the wavelength here of B? The wavelength is 10 to the power of negative what? Of negative 12 times the frequency. Now this one, now we are talking about what? Frequency of B. So it equals now wavelength of B, and here the speed of light. Then if we continue now, we need to divide here by 10 to the power of negative 12, and we need to divide here by 10 to the power of negative what? 12. Then what will we get the result? This part will go by this part, so what is left is the frequency of B. It equals here, when we divide the 3, we leave it as it is, times, and here exactly 10 to the power of 8 over 10 to the power of negative 12. When we divide powers with the same base, we just subtract the powers. It's going to be 8 minus 12. Or you take the 10 to the power of negative 12, you take it up. When you take it up, it's going to be what? It's going to be plus. So that means you will get what? 10 to the power of what? Of 20. So that is the answer. So here now, this is now the frequency of B, and this is the frequency of what? Of A. So which one is greater? As you see, frequency of A is greater than B. Frequency of A is greater than the frequency of B. That one is 10 power 23, and that one is 3 times 10 to the power of 20. Okay, how we know that 10 to the power of 23 is greater than 10 to the is greater than 3 times 10 to the power of 20. How we know? Look, this point now, this one here, I can rewrite it to be 10 to the power of 3 times 10 to the power of what? Of 20. I can rewrite 10 power 23 to be 10 power 3 times 10 to the power of 20. Yes, I have the right to do that. And here now, 10 power 3, it means what? 1,000. So 1,000 times 10 to the power of what? 20. Now, if you compare, which one is greater here? 1,000 times 10 to the power of 20, or just 3 times 10 to the power of 20. Same powers, but here times 3 and here times 1,000. So this one is what? Is greater. So A is greater. Which choice is A is greater? It is the choice what? choice A.